Hey, there was plenty of concern with San Antonio's newest football team yesterday, right? If you were here, you heard us. Reports of money trouble and missed payroll. Well, today the Commanders sent out the big dog, General Manager Daryl "Moose" Johnston, to explain. Evan Closky was there. He has a story.
The San Antonio Commanders are back to practice after that tough loss against Orlando on Sunday. But before we talk about anything on the field, we have to address the $250 million investment made earlier in the week. Many reports were coming out that the AAF was in jeopardy without that money. But Commanders GM Daryl Johnston denies those reports.
Just to get the misinformation that was out there, Tom Dundon was involved as an investor in the mid part of the week. The issue with payroll came at the end of the week. The Alliance was on top of it. We changed pay processing groups back in late January, early February. There was a glitch in the processing. The timing of the investment and the timing of the issue we had late in the week makes a lot of people think they're connected. They're not.
The players aren't worrying about that stuff too much. They did get paid on Tuesday, and they're just focused on the 4-game road trip starting in San Diego this weekend.
Yeah, it's something I've never gone through, but I'm excited to go through it with this group of guys. I think that we'll handle it really well, and it'd be good for us.
If we come back with a nice performance on this month-long road trip, we're expecting the Alamo Dome to be pretty excited when we get back into town.
The Commanders will not only play its first road game of the season, but its first repeat opponent in the San Diego Fleet. Ball placement, not kickoff, ball placement at 7 o'clock Sunday night. At Central Catholic, Evan Closky, KENS 5 Sports.